For more on this, we're now joined by Dr. Tigere Muringa from the Durban University of Technology, and he joins us via our video link. Dr. Muringa, thank you so much for joining us this evening here on SABC News. And of course, content creation is really a phenomenon that has taken over our lives. What do you make of content creation on just a broad scale?
Okay, thanks for having me, and good evening to your viewers. So basically, content creation in the digital age, I think it has been more or less democratized. Normally, we use three terms to describe the situation or the circumstances that we find in ourselves because of content creation. Remember that before the advent of new technologies, content creation was mainly and dominantly produced by the traditional media. It was a one-way channel where we have the producer, then we have the medium, and we have the consumer, which is the people. But things have long changed now, owing to the rise and emergence of new technologies that have seen the democratization of publishing, the emergence of diverse voices, and the attention economy, where we cease to have producers, but we have prosumers. You produce and you consume at the same time, and the communication of that content is now a two-way channel where the traditional media is taking content from the consumer, and the consumer are taking content from the producers. So that's how content production has become. I mean, looking at the advent of TikTok, I think it has been a game changer in the issue of content creation. Everybody, from the comfort of their home, from wherever they're sitting, they can create content. So that's huge, and that's a liberating factor. But with it also came a lot of problems, the issue of disinformation and misinformation, which we need to be worried about and always keep to be cognizant about. So in a nutshell, the issue of content creation has changed a great deal.
And of course, one would say the likes of podcasts and vlogs, and like you're saying, TikToks as well, has really taken over our lives. And, one doesn't depend only on traditional media anymore, as you have highlighted. At the same time, when it comes to this narrative that it can take over and it's becoming a threat to mainstream media, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to some extent, one could say these vlogs, podcast, and TikTok they pose a huge threat to traditional media. Why? Because I'll mention three things that why the fear of new media is such a big thing, to traditional media. Number one, I mentioned democratization of publishing, where social media platforms have made it easy for anyone to create and share content, breaking down barriers to entry in the media landscape. That's a threat to traditional media, where we know that the media houses are the ones that normally used to produce everything and we consume. Then the second thing is that diverse voices. Now social media has enabled a more diverse range of voices and perspectives to be heard, and this allows for a greater representation and inclusion in the creation of content. Then the last one is we're talking about the attention economy. The economy that we are functioning in now is an attention economy. So you need to maintain attention, and you need to retain attention when you get it. So the prevalence of social media now has created a highly competitive environment that poses a threat for content creators, particularly the traditional media, where gaining and maintaining audience attention is crucial for success. This leads to the rise of clickbait and sensationalism. But I want to say this threat can be abated. It's not all doom and gloom for traditional media. What really needs to be done is we need to embrace the new technologies. Traditional media needs to embrace more traditional new technologies. This tendency of gatekeeping, there's this tendency of filtering content in traditional media. I think those things, they need to be revisited, in the media houses, to say, what can we do to embrace the influencers? What can we do to come up to embrace to reach out to the audience that is digital savvy, that is always on the move, that is always scrolling their screen. We've seen that happening with many, SABC itself and many news channels. They've done that, but they need to be more needs to be done. Why? Because the digital environment is very fast and ever-changing, and because in the traditional media there are barriers, there are gatekeeping, there are rules that needs to be followed before content is produced. There are editors, content goes through some checks and balances before it comes out there, and as a result, this slows the process of producing content at the speed at which influencers are doing that, TikTokers are doing that, YouTubers are doing that. So traditional media needs really to revisit the red tape. They need to revisit their structure, their processes, so that they can liberalize that space, so that they can keep up with the speed and the pace at which the audience are consuming the content.
And very important is, intellectual property. And it seems as if, there's still no rules and regulations around intellectual property. How do content creators protect their intellectual property?
Now, that's a big one. The issue of intellectual property. Why? Because the digital space is democratized. The digital space is so much democratized in that it has empowered individuals to create, and it has empowered individuals on the grassroots to consume again, without following the things like POPIA, without following things like IP laws and stuff like that. So this is a huge thing, and the reason why it's a big thing is because most people who produce content on social media platforms, they are not aware, they are not privy and abreast with the issues of IP and stuff like that. They can regurgitate, they can reproduce anybody's content. They can misinform and disinform, without thinking about the effects of all that. So this is a huge issue, and what needs to be done from where I'm sitting is that there needs to be more media literacy, amongst in our curriculum, in our society, in everything. There needs to be more emphasis on digital literacy, media literacy, on issues of IP, to say you don't just take someone's work and reproduce it and put it out there on TikTok and get likes and stuff like that. So those issues are very important. But I mean, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, they have those provisions to say, if you feel that somebody has taken your work, without your consent, you can report that work and it can be removed, and you can take legal procedure. But the question is, how many cases do we have that have been addressed where people's content, intellectual property, has been breached? It's a lot, and it's huge. Why? Because the people who have these digital technologies, who have these phones in their hands, they are not aware of IP. They are not aware of POPIA. So what they do is that they just click at the click of their button. So that's a great challenge that really needs more emphasis.
Unfortunately, Dr. Muringa, we have run out of time, and thank you so much for your time. That is Dr. Tigere Muringa. He is from the Durban University of Technology, just giving us his insight there into content creation. Of course, this has become a new phenomenon that many in the country have become quite familiar with. And of course, looking there at some of those content creators, specifically from the Northwest.